Lance Mechanics here. Just finished a shift underground. I got something on my mind. So there's a massive shortage of mechanics, and I seen the writing on the wall years ago, and nothing's been done about it. So, give you some perspective. When I went to trade school, there was 34 students, and out of that whole class, I'm one of 2 people that are still in the trade. And talking to the other professors, and when I was teaching too, a lot of my students, you can say I was a bad teacher or whatever you want. Out of like 100 students, again, there's only 2 that are still in the trade. And even then, that's iffy. And we got one of the highest attrition rates of any trades. And there's a lot of reasons why. Being a mechanic or making a mechanic is, it's a marathon. It isn't a sprint. And to be honest, a lot of people are used to instant gratification. And it takes years to become a good mechanic, and it takes years to build the set of hand skills and diagnostic tools that you need. And a lot of employers aren't willing to wait for that. And a big part of that reflects in the wages. So let's say you want to become an apprentice electrician, which I think is the easiest job out there. You're going to hate me in the comments. They'll pair him up with a guy in a truck. Whatever, the company finances the truck. They'll pay that apprentice $24 an hour, and they can fit all their tools into a bag. And there's no cost. They park the truck outside, and that's it. It's very, very inexpensive to have an apprentice electrician. And if he sucks in the beginning, they're willing to spend the time and effort to make him a better technician. Whereas in automotive, you'll be lucky if you start out at $14, $16, $17, $18 an hour. You got to invest in your tools. The shop has to have a hoist. They have to have room. They have to have coverage if you mess something up, and you will mess something up. And there's a lot more cons to having an apprentice mechanic than there is, let's say, an apprentice electrician. It's just way more expensive, and the money's just not there to pay them. Or the shops and the dealerships are not willing to pay the apprentice. So early on, the apprentices get very, very discouraged. They're constantly spending at least 30% of their paycheck, or like all their gross income, and they're low wages. They're dealing with lots of stress. They're dealing with bullshit industry, angry customers, and at the end of the day, they're like, why would I be a technician when I can be something easier? Electrician. I keep saying mechanic, electrician. It's a good example. Like, it is very easy to become an electrician. And it's a high-paying job. And being a mechanic is a very unthoughtful. No one respects you, unfortunately. They want everything now. They want their car fixed, and if you can't fix it, they're in your face giving you a hard time. Electrician, keep saying it. Oh, I'll run that wire. It's $1,500. Take it or leave it. That's just the way it is, and people accept it. But when it comes to a vehicle, it's a whole different story. But yeah, so it's a tough one. It's a very tough one. So years ago, I was dealing with local businesses because I was on the board with the colleges here. And the first thing I said is, you need to bring apprentices' wages up, at least $24 an hour to start off. And they all simultaneously agreed, but they won't do it. They just won't do it. It's too hard for them. It's a big investment. And unfortunately, like let's say a private garage wants to invest in a kid, they'll spend 4 to 10 years like working with him or putting energy into him, and the chances are he's going to leave. A lot of mechanics jump from shop to shop to shop. Same with dealerships. You end up at a dealership. A lot of the time they'll hire a lube bay kid or the wash bay kid, and they'll put effort into him because they know who he is. But to hire an apprentice right off the street, even for them, is very, very tough. Ford, for example, in Ontario, you can be a licensed mechanic, and Ford doesn't consider you anything until you go through their training. And I remember one dealership principal, he was on this board with us. He basically said, yeah, your red seal means nothing to us until you get the Ford training, and that costs us $5,000, and it's very expensive. And I just remember thinking to myself, you guys are so goddamn cheap. Like, just for perspective, when I was flat rate in my last year as a flat rate technician, I made over $150,000 in labor. Now, if you were to put that on paper, the dealership made over $500,000 in labor, not even including the parts that from the sales or the jobs I quoted. So they're making money hands over fist, and they're paying the technicians doesn't seem like even 20% of what the door rate is right now. And unfortunately, it has to go up. If you want to get more mechanics in this trade, labors for apprentices have to go up, and labors for flat rate and regular rate technicians have to go up. Seems the only people winning right now are the one guy in the private garage. He has his loyal customer base. He's probably a really chill guy. Those guys are doing very well. Like I said, I made a lot of money as a flat rate technician, but I made the company way more money. And they were always on my ass. Like, you're going to have this done, or if I got really quick, they just booked me in more hours in the day. And another thing I noticed, especially with dealerships, let's say all the guys are starting to get 10 to 12 hours. You know what they're going to do? They're going to put another hoist in there, and they're going to hire another mechanic, and everybody's daily total is going to drop a few hours. And that's unfortunate. They do not let mechanics get ahead. You can have one less mechanic in a flat rate garage and everybody's hours will be really high. Everybody will be really happy. But at the end of the day, the dealership doesn't see it like that. They're going to put another technician in there to bring all the labor average down, because that's not the way they think. Like us, hey, we want more hours in a day. That makes more sense. One less guy. We don't need another guy. It's not the way dealerships work. And I see that everywhere. I've seen that at a few dealerships, and I've heard guys talking about it in town, and that's just the way it is. And